wanted to preface my Path of the Flood race recap. Before we get into it, I did end up finishing first overall in the 14-mile race. There was a guy listed ahead of me during the awards ceremony and online. I didn't think nothing of it because he dropped, according to them at the time, like a 6 flat 14-mile pace, which is not unheard of. I wasn't questioning that, but then I got home and was looking a little bit more at the results, just trying to do research on the guy, and I noticed he was actually assigned an 8-mile bib number. It was like 308, I think is what it was, and it caught my attention. So I started to do some research on Strava, Facebook, Athlinks, UltraSignup, and I couldn't find any info on this guy. And I was like, there's no way a guy dropped a 6-minute 14-mile race and not have any other results online. There was a bunch of people with his name online, but not his age, so it sort of threw up a red flag. And another red flag was he wasn't there for the awards. So I was like, I bet you he did the 8-mile and not the 14. So I posted online trying to find out some information on him, and the race director actually got back to me and said, yeah, he actually did call the guy, and he actually did do the 8, so that bumped me up to first. I only questioned it because I saw the bib number was different than what it should have been for the 14-mile. Otherwise, I would have just assumed he was fast. So I just wanted to preface that. So when you hear me talk in the race recap, you'll hear me referencing that I was second, but possibly first. But so I did end up moving up to first place, which I just somehow pulled it off by like 15-20 seconds with a slower time from last year. But other than that, there's been a little bit other shake up in the awards and overall placements, like for the women as well. That's all getting straightened out because some people just dropped down this morning from the 14 to the 8 or even the 5K, so they have to figure this all out because not everybody told the timer or the race director what they did. So some of the results are jumbled, so people are going to be getting awards later on that earned them, that didn't get them, and then who maybe got an age group or now overall. So there's going to be a little bit of a shake up in the awards. But I did get confirmation that I was indeed first overall. I only had one dude ahead of me in the standings, so we figured out that he actually did the 8. So that's cool. I'll take that win. And yeah, so now I'm going to get to the regular race recap that I did on the way home. I don't want to redo it because it was more fresh in my mind. I could probably give you more details then than I could now. Just from the experience and overall, like, being more fresh in my mind. So that's why I didn't want to redo it. I just wanted to preface this. So hope you enjoy it. And yeah, here comes the original Path of the Flood race recap from this morning. Heading home from the Path of the Flood 14-mile race. I guess I finished second overall in 1 hour 32 minutes and 14 seconds, I think is what it was. Like 3 minutes slower than last year. Probably a lot of factors that come into play to that. I just didn't really push as hard, and I didn't have people around me pushing me. I just ran more comfortably the whole race. I was actually figuring I was going to be second overall coming into the race. I figured I was going to get beat by this younger kid, but here it was not the guy that I thought was going to be ahead of me. It's kind of weird, but whatever. So as of right now, I am second. That always might change. There was a couple of changes in the female standings after the awards were given out. I noticed a couple irregularities, so they were going to be fixed. So some of the ladies moved up. Well, actually all the ladies moved up a couple spots, whether it be age groups or overall. Guess it was a nice day. It's only 65 right now. It just rained a little bit ago. I didn't have to deal with the rain, thankfully. I finished probably an hour before the rain came, but some of the other people that started after me had to deal with it. I don't know. I would say overall it was a nice, warm, but again, comfortable morning for the race. A couple years it's been really cold, a couple years it's been really hot, so this is sort of the medium temperature-wise how I've done the when I've done the race. Coming in, my plan was to do an hour 28. That was my Pace Pro plan. Last year I did 1:28:49. I set up for 1:28 just as sort of a motivator. I really didn't think I was going to be able to do that or repeat from last year. But I just wanted to have that in my mind, so maybe it would push me a little bit harder once I saw the time being in the pluses instead of the minuses. But it really didn't play a factor at all today. I think the first mile was actually 5 seconds under, but then after that I just started adding to that plusage, so I was like 5 seconds over, I think, after mile 2, so I lost 10 seconds there. But again, I wasn't really pushing. Didn't want to, but I also did at the same time, because I'm trying to save myself for a couple races I got coming up, World's End and Laurel Highlands back to back the next 2 weeks. Trying to teeter on that line of pushing myself with being able to recover fully, because I want to finish those races, not necessarily go for time. So today I'm like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go for time, burn yourself up and have a harder time recovering, or do you want to take it easy and be able to finish the next couple weeks? So I ran a little bit more comfortably than I could have. I didn't really have any trouble during the race at all. I actually took the last bus up, since you get bus to the start from downtown Johnstown where we finish. I actually got 14.3 miles on my watch, so a little over that 14 mile mark. I think if it was 14 flat miles, it would have been 6:35 pace. With my 14.3, it was like 6:27 overall pace, so not great for more of a downhill course, but not horrible either. I'll take it. That would have been about my half marathon time for the last couple ones that I've done. Like Run the Breathe, I did 1:22, so that was a mile less, or 1.2 less. So I'm right in that 1:22 range, 1:24 range for a half marathon currently. I didn't hit any 7s on my watch for a mile, so I stayed pretty much, I think, under 6:45 or 6:44 might have been my highest mile, and that was on one of the hill climbs where I was like, just save your legs a little bit. They had a rolling start this year. Last year they did, but those who started before 8 o'clock mass start weren't counted in the awards. But I guess it was a pain in the ass to figure out who ran before 7 and who started at 8 last year, so they just did a complete rolling start this year for everybody, so you could start between 7 and 8 for all 3 distances, because there's an 8 mile and a 5K as well. So with that being said, you really don't know who you're running against, because you don't really get to see who your competition is. So you pretty much have to, if you want to win or do good in your age group, you have to pretty much run red line the whole time, and hopes that's good enough to place in your age group or overall, since you don't know who's placing. So you have to push yourself and do like a PR type race. Whereas if it was like a mass start, you could sort of judge where you're at position wise. So there's pros and cons to both of it, and I will say there is pros and cons. One of the pros is there's actually people ahead of you if you start later in the course, so you could use them as motivation, like chase down or pick off, is whatever the vernacular you want to use. I use both interchangeably, because then you have people in front of you, so you're like, all right, now I'm going to get this person and then the next person, or, you know, it also frees up the monotony of things as well, so you're not necessarily, like, if you're in the lead, you're not running by yourself the whole time. You have people around you, so it is a little bit more exciting. The con, as I already said, is you don't know who your competition is and how everybody else is feeling that day, so you sort of have to run a lot harder and push yourself a lot harder, but it is what it is. There's pros and cons to both. So I didn't know who I was running against. I started maybe 2 minutes before 8 o'clock. There was only maybe 20 people left at the start when I went. So everybody else pretty much started between that 7 and 7:58 before me. So that probably left 100 plus people in front of me. And then the 8 miles and 5K, and, you know, some other people. But the 5K would have been done by the time I got to there. There was a small crowd of people along the course today. I've seen a lot more in previous years. But with a rolling start, I will say this. It's a little bit of a cheater method. It'll only save you a couple seconds. So you get warmed up, you do your thing, you're ready to race. Instead of starting still and running across the mat, you start back a little bit and you get your little running start momentum as you go across the mats. So it does save you a couple seconds. More so like if you're in the front, like if you're doing like a 5K or something and you're in the front row, it'll save you a couple seconds in the long run, because instead of starting from a dead stop, you could run up to it and get going. So you do have a little bit of momentum as you cross. The only thing is that you have to make sure your bib reads, because I had that happen to me a couple of years ago where I ran so fast across the mat, it actually didn't read my bib. We had to go off my watch, because people know I'm not going to lie about shit like that, to be fair. So there is that, but you save a couple seconds just by starting back a little bit and getting a running start into the mat. And that's what I did today. So it saved me a couple seconds. I don't know if it made a difference in the standings. I'd have to look how close the next person was. But I just took off real quick. Now, with that being said, you have to watch yourself, because right off the gate, it's probably one of the 3 spots on the course. It's hard. The first 2 miles are probably the hardest of the whole course. Right away, you got like a little bit of a uphill, and it's not as crushed limestone as the rest of the course. More pavement. Plus, you got some curves real quick, so you have to know where you're going. Then you're running through some house area, so you have to watch out for vehicles. So I said right away, it's actually a little bit harder, so you have to make sure you're not burning yourself up right away if you get that running start, or just starting in general, because it does suck. Then you got a little bit of a flatten out when you do hit the rail trail, but then there's probably the 2 biggest hills of the course. I don't even know if it's a mile into the race. Maybe 1 mile, and then like a mile and a half or 2 miles. One's on like in town, and one's on the rail trail. There's like nice little climbs right there, right off the gate, that if you're going really hard early on, your legs are going to burn, just because the way it dips down and then goes up real quick. Not that it's a huge climb, but it's enough where your legs are going to start to burn real quick, so you have to ride that line. Then from there, I pretty much settled into my pace, because I did run a little bit too hot at the start, so I did try to cool myself down. My heart was still in the 160s the whole time. I don't know if it broke 170 today, but it was, I would say, definitely high in the 160s for a lot of it. So I was a little overheated per se, but a lot of it also had to do with the caffeine I took this morning. Kept my heart rate probably up another 10-15 beats, because once I did cool down and get into my comfortable pace, I was not don't know how to put it, like pushing myself or exerting myself for the effort for my speed, because I was doing that like, 6.5, 620s range at the time. So I wasn't going full blown, but my heart rate was up because of the caffeine, added that 10-15 more beats per minute, tight pace. I did have people around me all race, like in front of me. Like I don't think there was any at one point in the race where I couldn't see somebody else in front of me. So that was nice. I just didn't have like a wide open trail where I got bored. So again, one of the pros of a rolling start is I get to see people the whole time and use them as a way to break up the monotony of not seeing anybody. So I did do that. I didn't take any Gatorade at any of the aid stations, but I took water at all of them. I tried to double water fist cups, whatever, double fist 2 waters on each aid station. Took like a gulp or 2 of water, and then I would splash it on myself just to keep my body a little bit cooler, because I knew I was getting hot, and it was getting a little humid out as well. Thankfully, the whole trail sections were shaded today. I was actually surprised at that. The way the sun was hitting it today, it was more shaded than I can remember. So it did keep it a little bit cooler, even though I still like it to have been 10 degrees colder, just because it would allow me to run faster, easier. Let me see. I don't know, I just kept running past people, saying hi to my friends as I ran by. There was one guy I know I was worried about early on. He looked legit. I think he actually finished like 10-15 seconds behind me, but he also started a minute or 2 ahead of me. I didn't know how that was going to play out, but I passed him 3 or 4 miles in, so I was confident in that. I would say my legs felt good the whole race. Don't think I had any real issues with my legs or getting tired. I did try the Under Armour ISO Chill compression shorts today. That was something new I tried. I know nothing new on race day, but I wanted to use them for the ultras coming up and test them out. And I think they help keep my crotch or my groin area and my lower back a little bit cooler because it's more meshy and ventilated. So that did help me a little bit. They're not as tight as 2XUs, but they're a little bit more lightweight, and they probably don't make me as hot in my upper legs as 2XUs. So I'm gonna try them out again at some ultras, see how they play out. But I think they did play a nice factor keeping me cooler today. I tried to use the downhills as much as possible for some free speed, and then take it easy on the uphills just to play it smart, but not burn myself out. Probably I don't know. I always get confused with the names on the path of flood parts. I did fly through the tunnel a lot faster than I have before. It was nice and cool in there, so I just jetted through that. Should have took it easy, but I wanted water. Usually the water's before or right after the tunnel, but it was actually like a 10th down the trail a little bit, which kind of shocked me, because I was like, shit, I was like, aren't they gonna have water? So I started taking a drink of my electrolytes, and then the water was right there. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. And I splashed water on myself. I did take 2 9-ounce bottles of Noon caffeinated. I might have drank like 5 ounces of it during the race. Just a couple sips here and there to keep me going, and my mouth a little bit wet on top of the water in the aid stations, which is enough for me. With like 4 aid stations, like taking a couple gulps of water. Really don't need more than that for a 14-mile race, unless it's super hot. I'm taking more of the water just to keep my body wet and moist and cool myself off. But yeah, after Staple Bend, in that water station where there's two little speed bump hills. That did suck a little bit. It was a little bit muddier in there. Where the 5K starts on that new section of the Path of the Flood Trail. It wasn't bad. It was a little overgrown today. I was actually a lot slower on that. I think I hit 9s on my watch when a little bit of the up climb. I was actually getting a drink too at the time from my waist belt. So that did slow me down while I'm trying to chug some. But I was just running in line because I didn't want to burn up. But then once we leveled out and then went downhill, I just took off again. And from there, I just ran comfortably the last 2 miles. Well, that's probably about it. I don't know what to really say, because if you know the trail and you know the race, you know what the course is like. I tried to do my best on the rail trail parts to save it for the asphalt, where I figured it was going to be hotter. But not knowing who my competition was and not in a carry mindset per se, I just had a hard time keeping motivated and pushing myself throughout the whole race. Even though my pace was still pretty good, I just couldn't push myself to go any harder because I was just not motivated, I guess, to go any faster. I didn't think I was going to win coming in, so that was probably why as well. Like I said, I figured I was just going to be second anyhow. And even if I wasn't going to win, I didn't really care if I was second, third, or if I got an age group, because I think the age group awards are actually cooler than the overall awards, to be honest with you. This is our overall awards. It's a bottle opener, like stamped, handmade. They have these cool, like Stonebridge metal pieces that they give out for the age group, and kind of want one of them. So I was happy with an age group award if I happen to get one of them, because I have a couple of the bottle openers. So yeah, I was kind of since I wasn't gonna win, I didn't care like where I finished per se, but I still would like to have finished like top 6 or 7, so I was guaranteed either a top 3 overall award or an age group. So other than that, I really didn't care, and I figured if I did a 130, I would have been in that top 6, even though I did a 132, which was a little bit slower, but whatever. Did not my best time. My best time was, what, 2 years ago? I think I did a 125 or 123 or something. It's all relative. I guess overall I had fun. It was a decent training run for speed. Got to do 6 more miles today yet. Get my 20 in. I don't know. Talk to some people after the race. I wanted them. As of right now, like I said, as I'm second, I don't know who the guy is that won. Maybe he didn't do the 14. I'm assuming he did. But I still would have liked to have met him. He wasn't around at the finish, so I would have liked to have met him. So maybe he didn't finish first. I don't know, because he took off. Maybe he dropped to the 8. So it'll be interesting to see down the road. So right now I'm either second or maybe first if that guy didn't. Maybe if he did drop down. So whatever. I always like to meet people that are faster than me and introduce myself, get to know them a little bit, so I know what my competition is at other races. I don't know what else to say. Had one of my haters casually call me a piece of shit. I found that kind of funny as they walked by. Couldn't say it to my face, but had to casually say it as they walked by. I got a couple stares at me today from some haters. I just laughed and enjoyed it. But I have to bring it up and acknowledge that I know they said it, and I know they were staring. Jealousy. Can't help it. Fuckers. But, other than that, might be about it. I mean, it was a nice race. It's always draws a lot of local people, local crowd. Everybody seems to enjoy it because it is more of a down. I don't want to say it's a downhill course. It has a net downhill of I think like 1,000 feet, but it still has 600-ish, 700 feet of gain. So you might say, well, it's the path of the flood. It's supposed to be going downhill the whole time. No, there's still some hills, just because of the way the terrain and the trail is built. So it's not a complete downhill course, but with the net downhill, it allows you to relax and gain some free speed a lot of times. Because you're never really in a situation where you're forced to run up a hill where your legs do burn for an extended period of time and take you out of competition, I guess. Trying to think what else. I don't know. They had music afterwards, pizza, beer. I didn't have beer. I gave mine away because you know I don't drink. But at the finish line, there is a bunch of people that line up and cheer. But other than that, there wasn't many people on the course today. Like I said, less than normal. I don't know. Like 5 minutes after I finished, I destroyed the bathroom. My body just got settled real quick, and it was just like, nice. Well, I did stick around to the awards, even though it was like 2 hours after I finished. You know, maybe 2.5. Yeah, it was a little after 11. Finished at 9:30, so like an hour and a half. Then it started raining, so I had to wait till the rain came and left. So I wasn't getting drenched going to my car, but I don't know. Guess that's how I'm going to wrap it up today.